So next and also last on the agenda this week is Team of the Season. Now I know what you're thinking, Team of the Season in February. That was my reaction as well. But no, this is a sort of the Team of the Season so far. Team of the Season at the halfway point. So I've went away, I've kind of looked at some stats and I've compiled for what for me is the Team of the Season. I should also point out this is only for the Barclays Premier League. We might look to do other leagues at some other point, but we chose to start with the Premier League. So I'm not sure how you guys want to do this. Obviously I can go fully through my team and then we can discuss it. I can maybe do goalies and defenders and then we can have a bit of discussion. I mean, it's entirely up to you guys how you want to work it.
I would go goalies, defenders, pause, and then
no problem.
review that way.
Midfielders.
So yeah, that's fine. So I guess I should start out by saying formation wise I ended up going with 3-5-2. That was to allow me to accommodate the players I feel like, or most of the players I felt like deserved to be in there, and I was also told to keep positions semi-realistic, so I tried to kind of honour that as well. So anyway, without much further ado, in goals I went for the pantomime villain, we were just talking about him, Martinez. Just quick overview, I suppose, of why I went for him. Second most clean sheets in the league, no errors leading to goals. Villa had a very good season for the most part, and I feel like he's part of that. Obviously made big saves at big moments. Back three, bit of no-brainer for me. Ruben Diaz. Kind of similar thing with Bruno at United and Van Dijk at Liverpool. One player doesn't change a team, and obviously City already had a bunch of fantastic players. But from a defensive point of view, obviously that's kind of what their success this season's been founded on, and I feel like he's a big sort of reason for why they've been so successful in that respect. Alongside him, I kind of struggle with this a bit more. Like there is no real standout. I like the guy Fofana at Leicester. He's obviously young and had a good season. I mean, you could arguably pair him with Stones. Obviously, he's kind of been along with Diaz while they've been so good defensively. But I actually went for Tyrone Mings. I think he's got the slight edge over the rest of them in that he's definitely made one or two mistakes, but he's a very solid defender. And he also scores big goals for them. I think that's kind of what tipped it for me. And finally, I'm playing a wee bit out of position, but I went for Aaron Cresswell. I feel like you'd be comfortable enough on the left side of back three. That's kind of one of the two reasons I went for him over, three reasons I went for him over Robertson. I feel like he'd be more comfortable there than Robertson. They both got the assists, like the free kicks and that, but Cresswell's obviously also got a free kick in his arsenal. And West Ham have had a fantastic season, and I feel like that should be rewarded. So yeah, what do you guys think, Andrew?
The only one I would disagree with, just because I love a goal scorer that's a defender, is Diaz. I would change him with John Stones. I like these pick 3 different teams because it's a bit more variety. Because you could easily have went Diaz and Stones. But the only one I've changed to with John Stones, purely because he's been scoring goals as well as being involved in clean sheets.
I'm gonna hazard a guess that Fleming is like me and has them both.
What do you mean? Like,
He has Fleming.exe stopped responding.
I just couldn't believe that he didn't have Ruben Diaz in his team, but I mean, the guy has just solidified that City defence, and John Stones right, spoiler alert, I do have John Stones in my team, but I wouldn't have John Stones in ahead of him because first of all I want my defenders to defend, then they can go and do whatever they want, and this is what John Stones actually gets critics for, is for sometimes he tries to come out with the ball too much and he's trying to attack, but no, I just found it a bit strange that he took Diaz out for John Stones.
It's called me crazy, mate.
I would have Stones in my team because Diaz is in the team, because the reason that John Stones has been so good this year is because he's playing next to Ruben Diaz.
Okay, that's a fair point. I'm just a
also,
sucker for
actually, to
goals.
be fair to Ryan, I had Cresswell at left back as well.
Yep, I would agree with that.
Oh,
Agree with
yeah, I've
Cresswell.
got Cresswell at left back.
Oh, even a different formation.
And I had Martinez in goals as well, Ryan.
Yeah.
Even though I think he's a dirty player.
Yeah. I mean, I went with a back. I went with 4-4-2 just to try and, as you say, get people in as close to a position as you could. So I was struggling between Martinez, but also Nick Pope. I think he seems to also every season get the most shots against him every season, no matter what, and he comes out with usually the most saves. Although Villa being a counter-attacking team, I think Martinez won't be far off them. So it's a flip of a coin. Both of them have been good this season. You've not mentioned the right back because of your formation, obviously, that you chose, but I was struggling between three. Two specifically, but I did put a third one in, was James Justin at Leicester, Kufal at West Ham, and just until the 9-0, I suppose, I had Kyle Walker-Peters at Southampton as well. I think he's went a bit under the radar this season, and anytime I watch Southampton play, he's always up and down the line. First of all, he defends, but then he's not shy whipping balls into the box. The likes of Ings and Shane Long and Che Adams as well, whoever's up front for Southampton. But that's the three that I would have put forward for right back.
Yeah, I guess just to kind of respond to you a bit there, Scott, I did also consider Nick Pope, but I think for me, the fact Villa were higher in the league and that he hadn't made Martinez hadn't made any mistakes leading to goals, I think Nick Pope's had one or two this season. I mean, another one's obviously Ederson, obviously the best clean sheet record, but I don't think he faces as much shots as Martinez or Pope, so it's not you can't weigh the same.
Can't compare.
I take your point about John Stones, which in hindsight I probably should include him because I'm going to use that very same argument. If you've got one, you've got to have the other later on. We'll get to that in a bit.
Okay.
Do you have anything else you'd like to add, Andrew, or will I move on to midfield?
No, just midfielders, bash on.
Does anyone else have anyone to add? No? No, cool.
I had Cresswell at left back, but my only other...
I don't have anything I want to add, except for 1, 2 and 3, yeah, okay.
There was just one player I wanted to mention at left back, and it's just, he maybe doesn't get mentioned because they don't have a great defence, but I think as a season for this guy personally, Stuart Dallas is having a great season at Leeds. At left back, and he's very versatile that he can move into midfield or play right back if Bielsa needs him to. So it's just a name that I would put there as just a bit of recognition sort of thing.
Yeah, I think the issue with Dallas, Scott, as you say, is he plays about a different position every week, so it's hard to place him. I did also have Kufal and Justin at right back if I was playing a back four. And before you said about positions, I was going to play Rubble there just to get on the team. Anyway, moving on, midfield. So I think 4 of the 5 picked themselves for me, and then you can have a bit of debate about the other one. So the 2 CDMs I went for Souček, I think that's a no-brainer, and then I eventually settled on James Ward-Prowse. I had a few names going through my head, but just because it is consistency for the most part. I know Southampton have kind of been up and down, and also just his free kicks are insane. So I went for him ahead of a Gundogan or something, just for that consistency, as I say. This is probably the most contentious position one, but I went for Salah at right mid. Had to get him in team somehow. Top scorer in the league. Liverpool obviously been a wee bit dodgy the past month or so, but I think prior to that he's the top scorer in the league, that says it all. Other side, I went for Jack Grealish. He seems to kind of operate down the left hand side, so I thought that was fair enough. Again, he's been very key to what Villa have been doing this season, both goals and assists. He obviously helped keep them up at the end of last season. He's just continued that form on and growing this season. And then finally at Cam, no surprises, Bruno Fernandes. What can you say about him?
Yeah, fair enough.
When you go, Andrew.
No, I was just going to completely agree with your contentious decision of James Ward-Prowse and ask how you couldn't include Big Ilke. I just couldn't leave him out of my team of the season so far. I think Gundogan has just completely changed as a player. He was scoring goals now and then before, but he just seems to be scoring every other week now. So that's the only thing I would change there. I would maybe question your Salah at right mid, but I can see why, if you're just going by formation, I can see why you put him at right mid. He is a right.
Yeah, he has to be in the team for me, Salah. And I absolutely get the argument for Gundogan. I think he's like probably in the top 5 for top scorer in the league now.
Yeah.
But I was just looking at his consistency over the season. Obviously, the season is 6 months in this respect, not one.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, fair point.
Ali or Scott?
Yeah. Again, for my formation, I only could fit 2 central midfielders into my team. Bruno being one of them. Again, it just speaks for himself. Since he's came in, what's that been, a full calendar year now he's been in the Premier League, and I've not seen a player for a long time like that. Maybe Aguero when he first arrived, or Hazard when he first arrived, just take the league by storm like Bruno has. I've not seen that since them too. And I had a debate who I was going to play beside him as centre mid, and I did go with Ward-Prowse in the end, although I've not heard his name mentioned, and until he got injured, I thought KDB was having another good season. De Bruyne in midfield for City, but I've not heard a lot of people talk about him. Maybe because he's been injured the last few weeks and folk are actually slightly forgetting about him because of how well Gundogan's doing. But yeah, I put Ward-Prowse / De Bruyne, but I probably would lean towards Ward-Prowse just because he's doing it in a worse team this season.
Yeah, I mean, De Bruyne, despite his injuries, is still the second top assister in the league, so I can definitely accept the argument. For me, it's just like I say, the players who have actually been playing, and obviously, unfortunately, he's been a bit unlucky with injuries. Anything you disagree with, Alistair? Anything you want to add?
I had a different formation, but I had all 5 of those players on my team. And I agree with. I think Ilkay Gundogan, if he continues his form, he will be in my team of the year at the end of the season. But like I say, it's only the last couple of months. The only other player who I considered that I had noted down was James Maddison. I think he's having an excellent season as well.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not getting in ahead of Bruno, but he deserves a shout out because he's having a great season.
Cool.
Yeah, I think piggybacking off that, there's also an argument for Harvey Barnes, but he's not getting in ahead of Grealish or the other 2 I'm about to mention. So up front, and I kind of touched on it before, if you've got one, you have to have the other. I went for Son and Kane. I think it's like, it's like fish and chips. It's like Mike Dean and controversy. They just go together.
Chips and cheese.
The number of assists and the number of goals they've laid on for each other, it's just Spurs have obviously kind of dipped every now and then, but I think for the numbers that they have, like they've done, and how well they play together, I don't think you can leave them out. For me.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
Do you have any thoughts? Oh, sorry, on you go, Andrew.
No, I completely agree with that. Yep, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, again, because of the formation I went with, I had a right mid and a left mid, and left mid I just had Son down. I could have had somebody that I've got in right mid over on left mid, but Son's had such a good season. He's maybe gone off the boil since Christmas a little bit, but I think part of that was Kane's been out for a few games, and Spurs just in general have kind of dipped in form. But I think overall this season he's been brilliant, and I am a little bit surprised that nobody has decided to ever put in a bid for him. He's been there, 4 or 5 seasons now? And he's never once have you heard, somebody's in for Son in this transfer window. Whether, I don't know who, maybe, I'm not sure it's out of the question to say somebody like a Barcelona should look at him, because I think Messi's not getting any younger, and they're going to need a winger at some point. But, and on the right mid, I've got 3 suggestions down. The one I went with was Grealish, even though he plays on the left, but I put him on the right to get him in. 2 mentions again to put in was Rafinha at Leeds. I think has been potentially the most underrated signing. And again, I've heard other pundits talk about why a top 6 never looked at him. Like, he's came in and been brilliant. He's so direct, and from a winger, he never looks like he's bothered if he doesn't beat a defender, because he knows, right, I'll have another chance later on, and he'll take him on again. And the last mention I'll do is Bakai Osaka at Arsenal. Again, and he's been a bit unlucky with injuries recently, but I just think he needs a mention after he's got that killer instinct in his game now, that he feels that he's ready to step up to that level and prove that, right, I belong here, I can score, I can assist, I can create chances for likes of Aubameyang and Lacazette.
If I'm playing the 4-3-3, which I originally had, then I was sort of thinking Son on the right, Salah on the left, or vice versa, with Kane up top. If I'm going by Ryan's formation, I would have Kane and I would have Dominic Calvert-Lewin as the strike partner. I think he's a fantastic season. And if I was playing Ryan's formation with two out-and-out strikers, I would have Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah, I definitely can't disagree with that. I also consider Calvert-Lewin. Another name going to throw out there, Patrick Bamford.
Well, after the last couple of weeks on fantasy, Ryan, I'll tell you.
I'm on the fantasy.
I've got a 2 up front formation as well. You went 3 at the back, but I went 4. And I've got Kane, and then it's Bamford or Calvert-Lewin that I've got. I don't think you could go without saying any of them 3 this season. They've all scored goals, and they've all scored pretty consistently. I know we mentioned last week or the week before that Bamford has gone through stages that he might not score for 3 games, but then he'll score and get a couple of assists and then go on a run again. So I think he's been consistent enough, and I think England might not be a bad shout to look at Bamford as a 3rd or a 4th choice striker going into the Euros if he continues his form.